The bass was right in front of her paws. Tala had been wallowing in the lake for at least an hour trying to catch at least one fish. The reddish-brown wolf felt they were teasing her now, and she hated it. She lowered her head, staring into the water with her hazel-colored eyes, and bared her teeth. A fish paused just under her mouth, hovering in the water. Slowly opening her jaws, the nomad plunged into the water, chomping down to bring up nothing but lake weeds and mud. The bass swam away, probably laughing at her in whatever language fish spoke in. She heard laughing from the shore behind her and spun to face it. Broke immediately stuck his nose in the ground, covering it with his black paws. His whole coat was pure black. Not a single patch of hair was a gradient off.
Are you just about done?
She bent down again to lap up water and get the taste of mud out of her teeth. Broke stopped laughing and was now looking at her with his amber eyes.
Give up already. You're not going to catch anything like that.
Oh, really?
She lifted her head from the water and spat out the remaining bits of dirt.
Then why don't you try to catch the prey then?
Broke stood with a groan, stretching his stiff muscles and shaking the sand grains out of his black coat. He rolled his eyes and waded into the lake water as she left it.
Have fun.
Yeah. Will do.
Tala and Broke used to be close. They had been friends since they were cubs and were always there for each other no matter what. They were part of a nomadic pack that had opted not to live in the massive cities, and instead lived as their ancestors had, hunting and gathering, never staying too long in one place as to not exhaust resources. There had been a point where the two would probably have had cubs of their own, but then there were the plagues. The first cases were discovered during the days of their cubhood. A mutated strain of the rabies virus had somehow used a flesh-eating bacterium as a host, creating the highly lethal, highly contagious strand known as black rabies. 24 hours after death was when the black part of the disease was coined. The flesh of the dead infected turned black and swollen, becoming gangrenous. The disease spread, looking like a more contagious rabies. However, the virus mutated. The flesh-eating genes of the bacteria were turned on to the max, and necrosis set in before the symptoms of rabies. Within a year of this mutation, the majority of the population had been wiped out. Tala and Broke had both been lucky. Black rabies wasn't as unbeatable as normal rabies, given half of its DNA was bacteria. Those with stronger immune systems had the strength to survive the ordeal. The bacterial virus ended up wiping itself from existence, though not before utterly laying waste to all living animals. After their pack's death, Broke and his brother, along with Tala, had gathered with others to form a new pack. They remained nomadic, though they had heard of others trying to rebuild society somewhere called the Clan Lands. The attempt to stay together proved unsuccessful in a night raid where the entire pack had been ambushed by looters. They were taken to a cave where they were separated and held in hellish conditions. Broke had been able to save Tala and himself by escaping. He hadn't been the same afterwards, and Tala didn't blame him, as the escape came too late to save his brother. She just wished he'd talked to her about it. Eventually, they bumped into another duo while hunting. 2 cats. Broke has suggested rather cruelly and uncharacteristically that they eat them, as they hadn't caught anything in a while. But the tan cat pleaded against the unconventional suggestion, offering instead that they help each other. Broke, keeping up the atypical attitude, scoffed at the idea, but Tala was able to talk him down to hear reason. He begrudgingly agreed, and despite the two pairs at first strongly distrusting each other, after a few weeks they had gotten used to living side by side, and Broke came around to seeing the benefits. The 2 cats who had joined them called themselves Poppy and Blaine. Poppy was a white-haired, overdramatic feline, and Blaine was a tan tabby cat missing his front left leg, just above where his elbow would have been. He had actually lost it as a result of black rabies. He was a doctor at the time the outbreak was finishing off society and everyone was just trying to stay alive. An infected had bit him, and not wanting to take the risk, he had the limb amputated.
Blaine!
Called Tala. The old cat had followed them down from a cave they were holding up in. He had run off on his own and disappeared somewhere.
Hey, Blaine! Where'd you run off to?
There was a rustling from the patch of bushes, and the old cat came out of the bushes with a small green plant with yellow berries in his jaws. Despite having only 3 legs, his stride was fairly normal.
Getting something to heal Poppy's cut.
He mumbled through the medicinal herb in his teeth.
When will she be able to hunt for herself?
Soon enough.
Good. I'm sick of hunting for her.
Come on, let's head back to the cave.
Broke! Meet back at the cave if you catch a fish.
What do you mean if? I will catch one. Unlike a certain someone I know.
Tala gave a little huff before turning and going up to the cave.
Face to face I found my pain beneath the lies and broken dreams. Lost the love I had in me. It tore me apart, fade away. I felt so lost, but I held on to what I had. For what it's worth, if you're feeling low, just know that you can. Yes, you can. There's life in love that you hold. Rise above and let it glow. Just know that it's never too late to make a change. Crash and burn, I found myself beneath the emptiness. Wanting more, I let it go. Holding on to love. Breaking through, I feel alive. For once in my life, I'ma live by the want to be all I can. Let the rest just crash and burn.